What's up, everybody? You know the deal. Hit like and hit subscribe, and let's get after it. Hi, hello, and welcome to your favorite average to good podcast. Call it what you want. We have two special hosts with you today. It's Jimmy, Cream Cheese, Trash Can, Conrad, alongside Charlie, Chuck Wagon, Davies, and it's just us. No big tones, no big brizzle. And Charlie,
they were scared. They were scared of this. They were scared of this one. You wanted the OGs for this one. You got the OGs for this one.
Got the OGs on the podcast. They're the OGs for the U.S. men's national team.
Yes.
Which is interesting because we're going to get into a conversation about some comments that Thierry Henry made. We're going to talk about the FIFA rankings that just came out. Pochettino coming out and saying quarterfinals minimum. Okay, we'll get into that. We obviously will recap what happened midweek and we'll preview what's happening this weekend. We've got a nice, fun show, Chuck. So let's get into this. Let's start with the FIFA rankings, okay? Because the U.S. dropped 2 places to 18th, and now we are behind Mexico, who are in 17th.
Help me help you. FIFA, help me help you. What in the world are you doing? What? We dropped just 2 places and we lose to Canada and we draw against New Zealand, and you think just losing 2 places is fair?
You think it should be more?
We should have dropped. And on top of that, Mexico's whack.
Well,
Mexico's worse than us. Mexico makes us look good. They make us look like Brazil.
For the last few years. Yes, I know, especially in big games.
Oh man, I've done lost my mind with that one.
So first of all, the FIFA rankings are pretty whack, okay? Because they have Belgium 6th, which whack. I still have some issues with that. Belgium have won 4 out of 9 games in 2024. The 4 teams they beat: Montenegro, Luxembourg, Israel, and Romania. And the Romania one was in the Euros. They won 1 out of 4 games in the Euros.
Get them.
And they're behind the Dutch, Portuguese, Colombia, Uruguay. Like, listen, I know they've got talent on paper, but you still got to go out there and actually do something with that talent. It's unreal.
Facts.
By the way, Canada moved up 2 spots. They are now at 38th. And they moved past Nigeria, the Super Eagles. So congrats to Jesse and everybody up north. And then the Kiwis are now ranked 95th. They dropped 1.
Oh, well done, Kiwis.
Well done, Kiwis. They went down.
We tied the 95th team, and they went down. They didn't move up. They went down, and we only dropped 2 places.
Well, so they played Mexico as well, and they lost to Mexico 3-0. Mexico tied Canada 0-0.
Jimmy, come on.
What?
How are we only going to move down? We're going to move down 2 places to the 95th team we drew at home. And we lost at home to Canada.
Not good for marketing. Not good for marketing.
It's not. But
the Mikey Varis effect. The Mikey Varis effect. Listen, if Pochettino was in charge, maybe we would have dropped more. But Mikey Varis, only 2. We only dropped 2. Shout out to Mikey Varis. The slander continues for you, my friend. All right, so talking about Mauricio Pochettino, he went on an interview with a new show called Soccer. Gary Neville, former Manchester United, England international, did an interview, sit down with him. And Pochettino revealed that the target for 2026 is the quarterfinals. Now, Chuck, he said in our press conference last Friday that the goal was to win the World Cup. Now, I understand it's apples and oranges because that's what you have to say. That's the mindset you have to have anytime you step into a major tournament. You're going to win it. You got to win it. That's what you're setting your sights on. But it is interesting that there was now a realistic take that's now emerged. Yeah, a little bit of a shift to the quarterfinals. What are your thoughts on that? When you first heard that, were you like, all right, or what were you doing?
Well, to be honest, I thought he was saying my objective is to win the World Cup. That's what the group's objective is and should be. I think when he was talking to Gary Neville, he made it, at least this is the way I took it, he made it seem that from U.S. Soccer's perspective, that the quarterfinals is the minimum target. Is the minimum target. So okay. I don't think that's necessarily his. I think he was alluding to, this is what U.S. Soccer has told me the minimum goal for this group is to get to a quarterfinal in the World Cup.
Do you agree with that then?
At the minimum, yes.
Yeah, I agree with that. The minimum. Yeah. Now, in our history on the men's side, we've only won 1 knockout game in our history. That was the round of 16 against a familiar opponent in Mexico. We were due to beat them, and we stood up and were very.
And that's
very
called luck of the draw. There's
a little bit of luck of the draw. Yeah. We might not run into that same luck when there's now 16 groups of 4, and we pop out into the round of 32.
And you got Spain.
You get Spain, who maybe stumbled their way through the group stages. They won't, because they're excellent.
Lamine Yamal is like this.
Yeah. He's like, wait, who am I going up against? So yeah, but you have the round of 32, then you have the round of 16, and then the quarterfinal. We have to double our historical total of ever in knockout wins in this upcoming tournament. Now on paper, we should have a manageable opponent in round of 32. Round of 16 is going to get sticky, Chuck. So yeah, we still got some work to do. That was a really long way of me saying we still got some work to do.
Yeah, we have some work to do, and we know it. The players know it. The supporters, the fans, you all know it. There's a lot of work to do, and not a lot of time, but enough time. Right?
Enough time.
There's enough time. Not a lot of time, but there's enough time.
Man, this October window is going to be spicy. I look forward to seeing how organized he can get the group, how galvanized he can get the group in a short period of time.
Jimmy, I just thought we're playing Mexico in Mexico, right?
We are. We
can move on up the rankings. We can get back above Mexico.
Is this our
in this window?
Can we take this moment to say that we should be down there, like reporting live?
Yeah. Who do we have to talk to for that?
I don't know.
Dez. I know Dez has to go to.
Ivis knows some people.
Ivis, Mike Nastry. I'm gonna throw it at Mike Nastry. Let's make this happen. So who gets to go between Tony and McBride?
Ooh, good question.
Yeah. I don't know. Live show sounds fire though, right?
It'd be fun. It would be fun. You know what we should do is have one of our fans in the community come with us. They get to be like the assistant or whatever. You know what I mean?
That. Tony Martinez, I know he's got his hand up. He said, "Hey, let's meet up in Guadalajara." Matt Christopher, we always see Matt Christopher here.
It'd be hard to pick one.
Anthony Tharp, he's been throwing shade at me. He's like, "You done lost your mind a long time ago, but we still ride with you." The Deep Hauser. We got our fam in here. We love y'all. So let's just make it a whole group thing.
I love it. We should do that. Okay, so we talked FIFA rankings. We talked about Pochettino. There's one big one we want to talk about in this first segment of the show. Is Thierry Henry. He was talking with Mike Grella about, well, you know what? I'm not even going to give you the context because we're going to hear from Thierry Henry right now. Go on, TT, take it away.
How many players in that squad will have played in old US squad, the Donovan one? How many in that team now will have started? And we all know that they all play or are in big clubs, and maybe those guys were not. But I'm asking you a simple questions since you know the story. How many players now, current team, would have started in the team of Donovan?
TT, I think I'll answer the question like this. Individual talent-wise, you see the top players are playing all over the top clubs in Europe. We have players playing in the Champions League, which was not normal back in 2002 when they probably should have went through to the semifinal in the World Cup against Germany. Obviously, controversy over that play. But TT, as you know, there's other sides to football. There's personality, there's character, there's maturity, there's sort of pride when you wear the shirt. I'm not sure they have that same understanding as a group and a level of maturity, and becomes sometimes a little bit of boys against men sort of comparison.
It's a good question.
How many?
You can say 2 or 3.
Who?
You can say 2 or 3, TT.
Who?
2 or 3.
Okay, I'll let you be.
Why? What do you think, TT?
Oh, I said it so many times. I asked you a simple. I played in the MLS. I thought the American-based players in the MLS were better than the American players now in the MLS.
All right, TT. Coming out with the flamethrower. Now, I will say, we're going to start backwards and then work our way to where he started.
Let's go backwards.
What I want to say, Chuck, because I think this is a compliment for me and you, is that the American players that were playing in MLS when TT was playing,
they were built different.
They were 1,000% built different. So I have nothing but the highest regard for those sentiments from Mr. Thierry Henry. The guy knows. He's been around. He's played the highest level.
He knows a thing or two about football.
He knows. So I agree with him on that. Then he wanted to get some names from Mike Grella, who definitely looked like he was on the hot seat and feeling the hot seat. And Thierry goes, who? Which of our current players do you think could play in the team of Donovan? We also probably should define who is the team of Donovan, Chuck.
Yeah.
For me, I think he's thinking 2002 World
I think
Cup.
he's thinking 2010, if I had to be honest.
Oh, when he scored against Algeria. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, let's take a look at those two rosters then, 2002 and 2010, and we'll see. Well, let's have a conversation. So the 2002 team that made it to the quarterfinals, and as Grilla stated, we were a handball away, which would have been called in current day, right, with the help of VAR.
Mm-hmm.
That maybe would have seen us go through. Obviously, still a lot of work to do, even if we score that goal to hold off Germany.
Okay.
But we have
preface this right here that Jeff Agus, I don't believe would be starting center back.
Okay.
He was naturally a left back, and probably you have either Carlos Llamosa or Greg Berhalter there.
Okay, let me name the team for everybody listening. We have a graphic up for everybody that can't see it, but we have Brad Friedel in goal, Frankie Haydick on the left, Jeff Agus, Eddie Pope, Tony Santa, Ernie Stewart, Claudio Reyna, John O'Brien, Landon Donovan, Brian McBride, and Clint Mathis up top. This is kind of a collection. This wasn't the team we started against Germany, because that was we played a back three, and then with Eddie Lewis as a wing back and Frankie Haydick as a wing back on the right side, and we had Berhalter in the middle of Pope and Tony Santa on either side, and
Tony Santa. I also want to say Tony Santa doesn't get enough credit.
The big cat.
How incredible he was.
So
absolute monster.
I agree. And at that point, he was playing in the Bundesliga.
Mm-hmm.
Where was he at that time? He was playing. Wasn't Bayer Leverkusen? He was playing for Nuremberg. Steve Cherundolo was with Hanover at that time, but Cherundolo didn't play much in this World Cup, if at all. Bees didn't play in the Germany game either, but obviously his talent was undeniable. Which players? Let's just use 2002 right now. Which of our players do you think would get in? Current players would get into that team. Can
we throw up that graphic?
Yeah, let's throw up the graphic again.
All right, so
I've got two names.
All right, I'll tell you right now. Let's just go position by position. No.
Okay.
So Friedel.
Nobody's getting a number for Friedel.
No one's even getting on the bench.
That's
no one's even getting on the bench.
Yeah, Casey Keller and Tony Miola as our two other goalkeepers.
No one's even getting on the bench. So let's start there. All right.
We can't even be our third goalkeeper.
You can't even get in the team. You can't even get in the squad.
Get in the squad.
You're not even you're an alternate.
Watching on TV like the
you're an alternate. All right. Tony Sane. Are you gonna go with Tony Sane or Serginho Dest?
I'd go Sane because you need some of what Tony Sane brings, which is
all I gotta say is
presence.
watch the Portugal game.
And he can get forward too, right? And he's a big guy. He can hurt on set pieces as well in the air. Tony Sane was excellent in 2002 in particular.
But then you could say, okay, watch Serginho Dest against Iran and watch Serginho Dest against England. He was pretty damn good. I ain't gonna lie. Like he had a really good World Cup.
But not Tony Sane 2002.
No,
good.
but Tony Sane he's a train. So
yeah,
and he's half Gambian like me. So I'm gonna go Tony Sane. All right, Eddie Pope. Oh, this is OG Eddie Pope.
Nobody's getting over Eddie Pope.
Best 11 all time U.S. men's national team center back. Are you kidding me? Eddie Pope was an absolute monster as well. Okay, Jeff Agus.
Yeah. Okay. No, fine.
I mean, so it's him or Tim Ream, right? In this case, I would probably at this point I would go with Tim Ream if you're comparing those two. And then if you're throwing Carlos Llamosa or Greg Berhalter, same thing. I'm going Tim Ream. So Tim Ream gets in at this position, given how well he did in that 2022 World Cup. Not Tim Ream now. I'm saying Tim Ream
from
2022 World Cup.
Sure.
Okay. Hayduk, Anthony Robinson. And
I would go Jedi Robinson too. Yeah. No, for sure.
And respect to Frankie, what a monster, up and down, never got tired. Played for Leverkusen when they were Champions League finalists. So the man was a beast. Okay, right wing. So if we did a 4-4-2 with this current team, who would be the right wing? We're talking
probably
Tim Weah. So Landon Donovan. Okay, John O'Brien, Claudio Reyna. So we're talking Weston McKennie, Yunus Musa, and Tyler Adams. Would any of them play over John O'Brien? No.
2002 John O'Brien.
Yeah, he was one of the best players in the World Cup.
Different gravy.
Different gravy.
Different gravy.
Claudio Reyna now.
Claudio Reyna.
Did you get to see Claudio in his prime? Like, did you play with him in his prime?
I did.
Okay. Let's hear it from you. Give us a good description.
I'll give you a great description. I could play him the ball. This was helpful for me, who wasn't known for my passing ability per se, but I could play him a ball in any situation. And not only could he bring it down, right? I could put it at his knee. He'd be like, no problem. With 3 guys around him, he would figure out a way to find the next best option. Now, you play with players, and you've done it too, Chuck, where you could get them a ball, and they're good at bringing it down, but they're just going to go play safe, right? Or they're going to play whatever. He could find that next best option. Claudio was so good, and he just could see the game on another level, and everything just kind of slowed down. That's another thing that I thought was a gift of his, was that if we were feeling chaotic or we just couldn't get the game or get a grip of the game, Claudio could somehow put his foot on the ball and everything would just slow down. And then you could actually make runs with purpose, right? So when you had him who could do that and John O'Brien that could do it as well, they were very good at controlling that midfield. And at this point in 2002, they had these tanks. I mean, they could run. They could run as well. 2006, John O'Brien, that's when I played in the World Cup. John O'Brien was hurt. Claudio, 4 years older, it's going to be a little bit harder for him to have the same type of impact in every single facet of the game. But in 2002, these guys were next level. I would lean towards these two for sure.
Yeah, and also Claudio is over Gio. That's not even a discussion right now.
Oh yeah.
All right, Ernie Stewart, who's here on the left. You could throw in Eddie Lewis. You could throw in Kobe
Bees.
Jones. So it's gonna be Christian Pulisic, right?
Yeah,
not even.
So Jedi for me, Jedi and Pulisic would be the two. I guess with Tim Ream potentially and Agus, those would be the only ones that I would consider. But McBride and Mathis up top are better than what we have right now.
All right, and then McBride, Mathis. Yeah.
So Grello was right. He
playing.
said 2 or 3. So Grello was right. He just didn't name names. All right, let's get to 2010.
Yep,
Chuck,
2010.
because I know you're excited about this.
I am.
Because
what
apparently your name might be on here.
I don't know. You tell me. Ooh.
Okay, let me name the team. Let me name the team. Tim Howard in goal. Okay.
Yeah.
Carlos Bocanegra, Oguchi Onyewu, Jay Demerit, Steve Cherundolo. By the way, that's the back 4 I played with in 2006. You just took me out and put Demerit in. So Demerit was just a younger version of this guy over here. You got Landon Donovan, Michael Bradley, Maurice Sadu in the middle of midfield, Clint Dempsey on the right, Josie Altidore, and Mr. Chuck Davies.
Oh, hold on. We got some comments. We got to address some of them, right? And they're like, hey, Jimmy, is Mathis and McBride better than what we have now? And the answer is absolutely.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Izzy wrote, Mathis is better than Sargent? Yeah.
Listen, go back and watch
Mathis. Oh my God, he was an absolute beast. Yeah, he had like a different mentality. Like he was.
Yeah, he had.
My man was a baller. He had a personality. Let's just keep it like that. All right, break down this team for me.
For me, Tim Howard. And there's nobody getting in over Tim Howard.
They're not even on the bench.
Not even on the bench.
Brad Guzan, Marcus Heineman. Yeah,
I love Redbird. Okay, so then Carlos Bocanegra. So this would be, I think you could potentially put Carlos Bocanegra in the middle, and if you wanted to take out Jay Demerit, you could,
next to
and then you could put Jedi Robinson in there. So there's an option there. So Jedi can get in.
Jedi. Anthony Robinson is getting into every U.S. men's national team because left back has been a weak position.
Yeah, almost playing guys out of position to accommodate that spot because Carlos is probably a better center back.
Yep.
Michael Bradley and Maurice Sadu. I don't see our current guys breaking into that. And then you have Clint Dempsey and Landon Donovan on either side. Like, I don't even know Pulisic gets into the team like that.
God.
Then you have Josie Altidore. Okay, you know what? I'll say like this. I would take this Davies guy out and put Christian Pulisic and put Josie Altidore.
Wait, you're gonna take me out over Altidore?
Yeah, then we could put Landon a little bit higher as the second striker, and then Christian Pulisic could be.
No, you gotta play me with Christian. You crazy? You're not gonna keep Josie over me? You nuts?
Well, we can't have like for like players. We need to have some contrast.
Are you forgetting your boy? Your boy could hold up. Are you crazy? I Carlos Puyol.
I know you got a bubble butt, Chuck. I know you have an underrated bubble butt. But
I had Luis Zhao, Lucio, Carlos Puyol, Piqué, Sergio. I held the ball up against the biggest and the best of all time. So, hey, give your boy some credit with the hold-up play. God.
Okay, you know what?
Yeah.
I changed my mind. I got Herc Gomez in over Charlie.
Oh, hell no. Hey, Dez, we need a substitution here. I can't work with this guy. He's hostile. This is hostile comments.
I triggered him, everybody. I got him. I
I need HR here. Damn. But what I will say, it's tough for that group to break into that team.
Either one of those squads.
So can you say Jedi for sure? He gets into that team.
Yeah.
Are you taking Christian Pulisic over Landon Donovan?
I wouldn't.
Are you taking him over Dempsey?
I wouldn't.
Okay.
Only Jedi. And even then, we're trying to still make room for Jedi. That team is fine.
We're moving Bocanegra central with Gooch, which is where Bocanegra is. He's a center back. Right. He's not a left back.
Right. So Gooch was hurt for 2010 as well. I mean, so if it was hurt Gooch.
Yeah, he did his knee in the same game that I had the car accident.
That's right. I was there for dude, what a fucking mess.
So I'm taking that Confeds Cup team. So it's a mix of the Confeds Cup team and the World Cup team. So we only have one.
What does that say, Chuck? I mean, we obviously might have some biases, but still, you know.
No, but Christian.
No, but
I think I'm playing up top. I'm playing up top with Christian. I'm playing up top with Christian.
Yeah. So if Christian doesn't start, he's probably one of your first off the bench. But when we look at that 2010 team, there's still Bees. Bees wasn't on there. Bees doesn't get the respect he deserves, by the way. Bees is a baller. And so Bees would be one of the first options. If he wasn't starting, he'd be one of the first off the bench as well. So it's tough.
But are we?
But they all play at big clubs. Chuck, they play at big clubs. They play at big clubs.
Comments: are we wrong? Go back to the graphic again. 2010. I think Serginho Dest gets in over Cherundolo.
Oh my, HR. Where's HR?
You're a little biased if you say no to that.
Okay.
Serginho Dest, Barcelona, Ajax, champion, World Cup. Let's be real. So okay. If we're going to be real, keep this graphic up. All right. Turner, no. Serginho Dest, yes. Zimmerman Ream, no. Anthony Robinson, yes. Tyler Adams, Musa, McKennie. Are they getting in over Mo or Michael Bradley? No.
They're not.
Not right now. Weah, Jesus Ferreira. Because remember, Jesus Ferreira, Sargent, those were the guys. No.
Come on, dude.
They're not getting in. And Christian
Pulisic, have a real conversation here.
Christian Pulisic, me and Josie, if one of us wasn't hot, if one of us, Josie at that time, remember he wasn't playing all the time. He was
this just sounds like a couple minutes of you trying to defend and validate why you're in the team.
I'm trying to validate my starting spot. I'm not losing my starting spot. So I'm starting with Christian. But at the same time, I will be the first one to raise my hand if I'm not performing. If I'm not in good form, I'll come off the bench.
The big part of this conversation, is that there would only be 2 or 3 guys potentially from our current squad that could really get into squads in the past.
So Thierry was right.
This is coming from. So Thierry's right,
and this is what it comes down to. Thierry was trying to make a point of everyone glorifies this group of players because they are playing the Champions League. But all in all, if you look at the roster. If you look at the squad, how many of those guys, because everyone glorifies them and says that, would actually play in previous World Cup rosters? And the answer is no, not many. Because we're basing that on potential. They all have incredible potential. But again, you got to realize that potential. You got to stay healthy. You got to produce in the big moments. You got to be consistent with your playing time, right? Not only consistently playing well, but starting. And in actuality, there's only a handful that you could count, maybe 3 that are starting regularly. And then would you say 2 that are performing at the highest level and playing regularly at a high level, which is Christian Pulisic and Anthony Robinson. So that's a
lot of work.
All in all, that's a lot of things going on. Thierry was right. It just didn't kind of, the messaging was a little bit off. I think the delay with Grella maybe didn't understand the question properly, or maybe he was afraid to tackle that question the way you and I just did. I don't know. But either way, we came to an agreement. We got there.
We got there, everybody. For everybody that's just kind of new to the U.S. men's national team, just do a little bit of homework. That's all we're asking. All right, first break of Call What You Want is now upon us. When we come back, we'll talk about the week that was, especially in the Champions League. Don't go anywhere.
Now let me hear you.
A full slate of games featuring undefeated squads, talented QBs, and superstars all over the field. Now that's a CBS Sports Sunday on CBS and streaming on Paramount Plus.
All right, welcome back in to Call It What You Want. We're going to do a little recap of our Americans abroad. Not only was there European competitions to get into, 3 straight days of the Champions League. Inject that straight into my veins. We also had the Carabao Cup. So we have some competitions to talk about for a good portion of our player pool. Now, Chuck, let's get into the one that had 5 Americans in it. Juventus, 3-1 winners over PSV Eindhoven. Weston McKennie gets his first start of the season under Thiago Motta, and he scores. He joins the attack. That's what they needed. They hadn't scored in their 2 previous games leading up into this match against PSV. They got 3, and it was a good performance from them on both sides of the ball. PSV looking a little off the pace. I think that's the best way to say it. Christian Pulisic scores the first goal of the game against Liverpool at the San Siro. But then AC Milan showed their vulnerabilities under their new manager, Paulo Fonseca, and they lose 3-1 to the Reds. And Pulisic may be the bright spot in that. But if you're Milanista, not good times for you right now. Austin Trusty comes on against Bratislava in the Champions League for Cameron Carter-Vickers with about 5 minutes left. CCV went 85 minutes in a 5-1 win for the Hoops in that one. And then Flo Balogun didn't start against Barcelona, but he came on with about 20-ish minutes to go. He ended up drawing a penalty, or what we thought was a penalty. VAR ruled that it actually was not, but he was lively and active. They scored their game winner when he was on the field. Let's talk about the Champions League first, and then we'll get into the Carabao Cup stuff next, Chuck. Any performances that really stood out for you? I think Weston McKennie seems like the obvious choice.
Yeah, of course. And I love this comment from Fumar Mota. Smooth segue from older players being better, in quotations, to a record number of Yanks in UCL. Ironic. It is ironic. Because Richie Ledesma is not a right back. He's playing right back for PSV. My man got cooked, but he's not a defender. What do you expect from him? So I don't. He's still a quality player with when the ball's at his feet. He's a midfielder. Weston McKennie, you gotta love. When I think of character and not backing down, that American spirit in Europe, which is what Europeans love about American players, like the fight, never giving up. That attitude from Weston McKennie and Christian Pulisic, who have been counted out by players, by coaches. They keep fighting to get playing time and make the most of it. And Weston McKennie scoring in Champions League. Let's go. I'm proud of him because, I go back to World Cup qualifying when he made that mistake of breaking curfew and letting his team down and was suspended. And that was the moment for him to grow. And here he is. Initially Thiago Motta said, he can go. He stayed. He fought for his place. He earned his place, and now he's scoring in Champions League. So let's go. Timothy Weah, again, a player you weren't really sure what was going to happen to him once Allegri left, and Thiago Motta has counted on him, has played him. So he sees value in his pace, which is something that U.S. men's national team fans should understand. The reason why he's so valuable is because he gives you something, a dynamic that we don't really have, and that's pace. Down the right flank. We don't have the ability to stretch opponents. If everyone's playing these inverted wingers, where are you getting your pace from? Where are you getting the opportunity to stretch the back lines? You need those type of players. So it's good to see that he's healthy and back because I do think he's going to have an important role with the U.S. men's national team in 2026. And so from that standpoint, I think Malik Tillman didn't impress. And you're playing against better competition anyways, but he didn't do himself any favors in this match. So that was the one match I really had my eyes on. And I'm proud of Weston in particular, who has really fought his way into the team, into the heart of Thiago Motta and the Juve fans, and scored a big goal.
No, it was very cool to see him have that moment for sure. And I think I was on Morning Footy or the Golasso Network at some point talking about McKennie being in the starting 11. And what I love is his ability and desire to get and join the attack. And that was on full display on this particular goal. Was it a scintillating goal? No, but he put himself in a good position to be in a good spot to make a play. And that's what Juve was missing. And I think that's what he can do to continue to unlock them. I do want to go back. Chuck, I rarely get triggered. Well, sometimes I get triggered. But that comment kind of pisses me off. I'm just going to say that.
Yep.
What you said before.
You got triggered. Let's go.
A little bit. Because when I look back at the 2002 team, there was only, of that 23-man roster, 9 players played in MLS. And a few of them came back to MLS, notably Brian McBride, Tony Meola, Kobe Jones. So they were tasked with starting the league and putting the league on their shoulders to get going and be recognizable names that could really get energy going with the fan base and that people knew. So they took on that responsibility and they left Europe to help build something here, which I think has helped develop into a very robust infrastructure, which is continuing to evolve and hopefully getting better and more efficient. But we also had players. Greg Berhalter was at Crystal Palace in the first division at that time. Trundle was at Hanover. You had Friedel. All of our goalkeepers were playing in the Premier League. Frankie Haydick, as you mentioned, Bayer Leverkusen in the Bundesliga. Eddie Lewis was at Fulham. Joe Max Moore was at Everton. You had John O'Brien playing for Ajax. Claudio Reyna playing for Sunderland in the Premier League at that time. I mean, we had guys that were all over. And so it makes me wonder, too, though, we're not to say those guys weren't playing in big games, and the Champions League was harder to play in back then, right? Because not as many teams qualified for it. But the irony of these older guys, because they weren't playing over in a I don't know. I different eras a little bit, but unless you saw those guys at their peak, and maybe you did, and you still think this young crop's better, well, this young crop better fucking play better, right? Because they're not good enough.
Hey, I gotta give you, this is your first F-bomb on the podcast. Let's go.
60 goddamn years we having lots of Canada on home soil, and then we draw to New Zealand. Whether those guys play in Europe or not, like, you got to show up and play. And
my man's fired up.
Make
go,
plays
Jimmy,
in the moment.
go.
Like, listen, I'm a guy that played MLS primarily my whole career, and I showed up when it
Keep
mattered.
Going.
And I learned in my World Cup, and I've said it before, that you're either ready when the whistle blows or you're not. It doesn't matter where you played before or where you're going to play after. Can you show up and play right now? And
show up.
I take a lot of pride, and I was satisfied with how I performed at the highest level, and that's what matters. Yeah, all that experience builds up to that moment, but are you going to be ready in the moment? And if our guys aren't, we got to go to the guys that can. And if they play MLS, they play what doesn't. We need guys that are going to be playing together, working together, and making plays on both sides of the ball when it matters. Those are the guys we have to find. I don't care
Jimmy
where
Conrad
we find
in the locker room.
Dude,
the USMNT national team locker room. Look at him. He's going.
Annoying, dude.
Let's go. Annoying. He's fired up. I've never seen you trigger. You dropped the first F-bomb on the pod. You're
well, you didn't hear one earlier.
Let's go. Yo, you got me hyped. I'm ready to run through this wall for you. Conrad Dino.
Let's
taking prisoners.
Okay. I'm gonna chill. Let's get into the serenity now, everybody. Let's get into the Carabao Cup. Here's interesting. We've been hyping up Gaga Slonina. Big Tones is a huge fan in particular, right? He was calling Chicago Fire games and all this. Gaga just got lit up for 7 goals. Barnsley lost 7-0 to Manchester United at Old Trafford. Not a good day for him. And I'm going to add a quote to this for this, Chuck. The Barnsley manager, Daryl Clark, said after the game, "If I ever hear one of my players telling me that Premier League players are poor, I'll be giving them a slap because we were miles off against a team that can absolutely destroy you when you're not at it." And he wasn't wrong. Manchester United were all over that. I mean, even Anthony scored. If Anthony's scoring, you did not have a good day at the office.
No, not at all. And as you see Thierry and Jamie and Micah on the Champions League show go, big problem. This is problem. I just watched. It was Gaga Slonina did not look like he had been a professional keeper. The way that he was moving, it was almost like,
he gave up a penalty too, right? Because he was a little slow in that moment to read the play.
It's like you're in League One because you're in League One. It wasn't, I know it's harsh because you're playing Manchester United and you're in a League One side, but it did not look good.
Yeah, they got smoked. Other players that played in this competition, Crystal Palace. Chris Richards got the start. Matt Turner did not. Well, I want to get into that in a second, but Crystal Palace won 2-1.
Trigger Jimmy again.
Well, no. You're the second keeper behind Dean Henderson. More often than not, the rule of thumb that seems to be universally accepted by everybody out there is that for cup competitions, this isn't even the FA Cup. This is the League Cup, the Carabao Cup, right? This seems like if you're going to give Matt Turner any of the competitions this year, this is going to be the one you're going to do it. And they still went with Dean Henderson.
Oh.
What big trouble? I'm going to quote Thierry Henry and Micah and
Problem.
James. Problem. Big problem.
Big problem.
Big problem.
Yeah, I'm with you. I mean, from Matt Turner's perspective, you're trying to leave. The club is saying you're not going anywhere on a loan. They have to buy you. Every team's like, I'm not buying you, Matt Turner. We'll loan you. We're not buying you.
Right.
We want to see if this is something that could work. And then on the 3 days to go on the transfer deadline, they go, oh, now you can leave. Everyone's had their goalkeeper position fulfilled. They've got all their, and then Crystal Palace came in and said, oh, we'll do it. And we'll cover the wages, right? So you're forced to, because you got zero shot at Nottingham Forest.
You got to play him.
You make the move, and you're like, hey, all right, at least I'm going to London and I get a chance. But he's not getting a chance. So all in all, he's only going to play if Dean Henderson gets hurt.
Yeah. We don't wish that upon anybody, but
no.
All right, so let me finish the results, and I actually want to get into the biggest defeat of your career, Chuck, if you can remember what that was. Coventry, Haji Wright gets the start, plays against Tottenham. Spurs win 2-1. And then Preston North End take on Fulham. Dwayne Holmes starts in the cup set as Preston wins 16-15 in penalty shootout. They took 30-something pens, and they finally got to it, and Preston North End ends up getting through over the Cottagers. Listen, Fulham, dude, what are you doing? Like, how do you lose to...
I was like, what are you doing to me? Because Micah Richards was just calling me. So I was like, I'll call you after this. Yeah, I have no idea what he was about to say.
All right, so what's the worst loss you've ever been in, Chuck? I was trying to think about this before the show.
The worst loss I've ever been a part of.
Yeah, more in terms of score. Obviously, we've had emotional losses that leave scars. But did Boston College, you ever get whooped on in Boston College?
We got whipped on, but I was out. So I had torn my meniscus. And it doesn't count because I wasn't playing. So you can't, if I'm out of the lineup because I'm injured, I had a surgically repaired meniscus.
I like
we lost 5-0 to Maryland. And this was the year Maryland won the national championship. They had, Robbie Rogers and Mo Wadu and Jason Gary and, Stephen King.
Gary.
They were just like,
what a name.
Yeah, they were cruising, and they love to bring that up. Like, hey, remember when we smashed BC? I'm like, BC wasn't the same. If you don't got Chuck Deasy on the field, it's not the same BC.
It would have been 5-1 then with you on the field. Is that what you're saying?
Hey, the next year we played in Maryland, we won 3-1. That's all I gotta say. Your boy scored 2 and an assist. All right, but man, the worst defeat that I ever had. Oh, I can't think of
I
can't
remember any time. Like, where everybody just quits. Those just everybody stops doing the little details that matter in games, and then somebody gets.
Did you ever get
sloppy.
Smashed in MLS? Did you ever have a bad night in MLS?
I remember having bad nights, but never somebody putting up a touchdown or anything.
Yeah. What was your worst performance of your career?
Worst performance?
Yeah. So it doesn't have to be.
Yeah. One of my worst performances was kind of tied to something that was going on personally off the fields, where I had a longtime girlfriend come up. And I think I'm giving too much info here, but a longtime girlfriend, my stepdad had just died. And that's who I lived with growing up. And one of his hopes, he died at age 43 to melanoma. It's super heartbreaking. But one of his hopes for all of his kids, for me, was that I would be kind of settled. I'd have a girl and we'd be living together and kind of on our way, forming our lives together. And so kind of with that as subconsciously, consciously, I really wanted to honor that. And so this girlfriend that I'd had kind of off and on for a couple of years, I asked her to move in with me. She came up to San Jose. I was playing for the Quakes. And I was a mess. Like within a week, I was like, this is not a good idea, but how do I get out of this? She's in here, which is like, here, what do I do? And so I went out and played, and I shouldn't have played. I just was not in the mental state, the emotional state to really focus on what I needed to do. And I remember somebody making a comment on whatever the message boards were at the time saying that Jimmy Conrad is the worst player I've ever seen play. And I'll be honest, he wasn't wrong. Like, I just could not. I was having trouble connecting passes, Chuck. I mean, that's just kind of where I was, but I was just somewhere else. And I probably shouldn't have played that game. But I mean, you know, we have hero complexes. So what are you going to do? And I eventually told that girl that she's out a week later, and then I started to play better. But geesh, that was a tough time for me emotionally. And so obviously working through some stuff. But that had nothing to do with the score. I don't even remember if we won or lost. I just remember being really bad that game.
And that happens.
It happens. I mean, I'm a human being, right? Got other stuff that we're dealing with as well. So
I remember my worst performance. It was on trial with Ajax. I had scored a hat trick. So they had me playing 3 games. In the first game, I got off the plane. I played okay, but you know, it's just not really in it the way I needed to be. And
right.
Second game, I scored a hat trick. Wesley Sneijder's father was watching the game with my agent at the time, Lyle Yorks, and so I remember looking at him, and Lyle Yorks like gave me the big thumbs up, and I played out of my mind.
I love that.
It was like an inter squad, so it was like the reserve team,
right?
And mixed in with the oldest academy team, might have been U19s or something. And so I come off the pitch, and Lyle's like, "Hey, he just said you got a bright future. Like he just doesn't see Ajax signing you." And I was like, "Oh, I'm cooking." And we got one last game. It's raining. Turf. We start the game. I make one sprint. It just started. I make a sprint into the channel, and I feel my hamstring go.
No way.
And I'm like, okay.
You think it's because like I've had injuries like that because of other things like stress or pressure?
Yeah. I mean, I was living with the host family there. You know, probably didn't. You know, didn't know the training staff. I wasn't doing like ice baths and stretches, and so you eat. At the host family's home, you kind of just cuddle up in your room. You don't. It's like I don't know. They don't really, hanging out with. They were in their 60s, So I was kind of like, all right. And so I wasn't prepared. I guess like I didn't have the right recovery process in between the training sessions, and so strained my hammy, and I was like, all right, I can play through this. And I just felt it getting worse and worse. And I kept trying to play. I couldn't run. Every touch, I was like, it was terrible. And the whistle blows, and my agent's like, they said they can't sign you, but if you stay longer, they can still evaluate you. And I'm like, how long is that going to be?
Yeah.
And then he gets a call that Hammerby came in and said, we have a contract for you. And I was like, oh, thank my prayers have been answered, because I don't know. Who knows how long it would take for me to recover?
How long did it take you to recover, though? A month, 6 weeks?
Yeah, probably a month. And the funny thing is, I go to Hammerby, and if you go to a medical now with the clubs, they got you on treadmills, they're doing VO2 tests, all these crazy things. I get to Hammerby, the doctors lay me down on a table, they lift my legs, they bend my knees, they move my ankles, and they go, he's good. I was worried as hell. I'm like, what if they make me want to do sprints or test my speed, agility? Nothing. You're good.
That's amazing. That's amazing.
Shout out to Henry. Thank you.
Crazy stories. Lots of crazy stories. We should have story time a little bit more on the pod, especially with Big Tones and McBrizzle. We know we got some good ones in store. All right, we're going to take our last break and call it what you want. When we come back, we'll start previewing for the weekend. It should be fun. Do not go anywhere.
A Quiet Place Day 1 is now streaming on Paramount Plus. It's thrilling, terrifying. It will make your heart pound out of your chest. A Quiet Place Day 1, now streaming.
Welcome back into Call It What You Want. I'm Jimmy alongside Chuck, and we are looking forward after looking back. Let's take a look at the notable fixtures that are happening this week for Americans abroad. You got Juve versus Napoli. That is going to be awesome. I really want to see if Weston McKennie gets another start. We got Crystal Palace versus Manchester United. Chris Richards at Selhurst Park against the Red Devils. Then you have Cardiff versus Leeds. Ethan Horvath not in the starting 11 for Cardiff in the last game. Brendan Aronson should get the start. That one is on the Golazo Network. Make sure you tune in for that. Then on Sunday, we got Monaco at home against Le Havre. I think I'm saying that right. Fortuna Sittard is hosting PSV, and then Brest versus Toulouse. Brest won today in the Champions League, and then The Milan derby's happening at the San Siro. Inter versus AC Milan. And I guess, Chuck, my question is for you, which game are you most excited about this weekend? From an American perspective, of course.
There's not one game.
Cardiff Leeds? No? I mean, the Milan derby, there's a lot of fun narratives around the Milan derby in general, just because Paulo Fonseca, for me, if he loses this derby, he's out.
He's out. He's done.
He's gone. Fire the guy. Yeah. It's been terrible.
But I wouldn't say there's like one match that I'm like, got like out for quality. Yeah, the Milan derby. But in terms of like, I'm watching this because these players, there's not one that's like, I got to watch this American battle.
Yeah. No, that's fair. And it sounds like the rumors are out there that if Fonseca gets sacked, Maurizio Sarri comes in.
You like that?
I actually think that Christian's been pretty bright under Fonseca. There's something about Fonseca's tactics that I do like, but having good team shape in the back and being solid defensively, not so much. Sarri, he's a little bit more structured, and I wonder if that's going to handcuff Christian in some way.
No, Christian's the guy now.
I get that.
He is the guy. It's not even a question.
Cool.
Everyone gets it, understands that too. He's the
guy. He'll play, of course. He'll play, but I just wonder. There's just a lot of structure and organization to how Sarri likes to play. Hopefully, he'll find that middle ground with all of his talent. Right? You got other guys like Teo Hernandez and Rafael Leao who also have identified themselves as mercurial talent that like to take over games too, but we'll have to wait and see. But it should be a fun weekend, like always.
I also want to give a shout out to Turtle in the comments. Chuck, have you been to China since the Olympics? No, I haven't. I would love to go to China, but how much time do you need to go to China? Chuck don't have the time anymore. I'm here working, grinding with CBS. I don't have that freedom.
That's a super random question from Turtle, by the way.
I know, but hey, I'm down for it.
Okay, Chuck, let's do this. Let's get to 2 more questions, and then we'll bid everybody adieu. And as a reminder,
good questions.
We'll see you on Monday at 1 p.m. Eastern for our next show. We'll be live on the Golazo America YouTube channel, so come back and hang out with us.
How about we do this? We let producer Dez pick the 2 best questions in the comments.
Pressure, Dez.
For us to tackle. So let's ask away. Jair Vasquez. Kelly, I love all your questions, so keep them coming. Kelly Broderick, Anthony Tharp.
I don't know if Des can see it. Why don't you take it? You take it.
Des can see all the comments. He's the mastermind behind this. He's like the puppeteer. What do you mean? He can't? Of course
he's the Wizard of Oz.
Yeah.
Is that what you're?
He is the wizard.
All right. Oh, hey, I just want to throw this out there while we're waiting. Hold on before we get to this, Chuck. This first question. I will be at the Open Cup final in LA between Sporting Kansas City and LAFC. So if anybody's going to that game, come say hi. All right, that's all. Just want to throw that out there. All right, here's our first question. This is from Tank. Chuck Deasy. That is Chuck Wagon. We got to correct that. Is the goal in Mexico City your favorite goal of all time? The stanky leg in the corner.
It is. And it's the moment I dreamed of my whole career. When my first U.S. men's national team game that I watched in person was Mexico versus U.S. in a World Cup qualifier in 1997 in Foxborough in Massachusetts. So from that moment, I saw what the rivalry meant to both countries, how important it was for the U.S., and I wanted to be a part of that. And so you fast forward to 2009 to play in one of the cathedrals, if not one of the most iconic stadiums in the world. You could argue it is the most iconic stadium in the world in terms of Pele winning a World Cup there in 70 and Maradona in 86, right? And to score in that environment and hush 100,000 plus Mexican fans was pretty special.
That's pretty rad. You know what's fun too is that my favorite all-time goal is my goal against Mexico as well. So Chuck, we share that. That's a nice bond between you and I. Goals against our biggest rival.
You and I. We've scored against our biggest rival. There's not too many people that can say that.
I agree. I don't even think Clint Dempsey has ever scored against Mexico. Is that right? Didn't he missed the penalty, right?
Not.
He had a penalty and he missed.
But I'm gonna tell him that you brought that up too, because now he's gonna come for you.
He already came for me a long time ago. He broke my jaw.
Yeah,
all right.
True.
Last question here.
My best assist was to Donovan in the Brazil game.
That was
in
a
that
very good
counterattack.
goal.
That was a counterattack and a half.
That was nice. Maybe one of my favorite halves the U.S. men's national team has ever played was that first half against Brazil in Confederations Cup final. If you haven't seen it, go find it. Excellent. And that goal was sick. Chuck, nice pass. All right, last question from Leo. At Milan, would you rather have Maurizio Sarri, or we've already talked about him a little bit, or would you rather have Thomas Tuchel, who doesn't like
the answer
Pulisic?
to this?
Tuchel already doesn't like Pulisic.
Yeah.
We can't have him there. From an American perspective, we can't have Tuchel.
Tuchel's a no.
We can't have it.
No.
All right, that's it. Those are the questions. Those were the answers. We are done here. We'll call it what you want. Thank you for hanging out with us. As always, we're excited to have the second show now every week. You can really get into it in a fun way and have some deeper conversations about bigger topics. But we appreciate your support as always. And again, we'll see you on Monday live here in the Golasso YouTube channel, Golasso America YouTube channel at 10 a.m. Pacific, 1 p.m. Eastern. Come out and hang out with us. And if you don't want to hang out with us, you can catch our podcast anywhere that you get your podcast. Make sure you hit like and subscribe to all that stuff. And we'll see you soon. Later.
Let's go.